Mr. Cameron. You obviously are the founder of Climate Change Capital, just under $1.6 billion under management. Before we talk about how you make money, I know you've been active in climate change negotiations for 20 years. You worked on Kyoto. What do you make of what's happening here?
Well, we're in the midst of quite an interesting phase in negotiations. Normally at this stage one gets nervous about what the outcome might be, but there's been a lot of diplomatic work before we got here, lots of choreographing of messages from the US, from China, from India. And so there's quite a high level of optimism right now that a good political declaration is possible in 2 weeks' time.
What do you make of this rift between the rich and poor countries?
It's a standard feature of these negotiations. The truth is, the absolute hard truth is, there are mutual interests in play here. The world isn't neatly divided between developed and developing. And there are all sorts of reasons why we have shared interest in both solving the problem and in investing in the solutions. So this is one of the difficulties, one of the dynamics of these negotiations, is it gets stuck on what look like natural divides between the rich and the poor, but in fact are not. And they have to shift, they have to move before a deal is possible. Right. And they generally do in the end.
Okay, so that said, how do I make money on this?
There's always an opportunity to make money in change. Now, we're talking about a very substantial structural change in how we manage our economies, especially the energy system within our economies. So if you're on the right side of that change, you will do well. As it happens, there is still plenty of money to be made in old-style fossil fuel economy for many years to come. So this is one of the dilemmas. You can make money with high carbon, and you can make money with low carbon. But actually, every single traditional asset class that we currently invest in can be looked at in a different way once you grapple with both the physical consequences of climate change and the regulatory response to climate change.
Where are you putting your $1.6 billion?
Well, in a combination of traditional asset classes looked at a different way, like property, green buildings, or infrastructure, green infrastructure, making sure that the assets that we build in the next few years have a low carbon profile. We also invest in the carbon market, which is a pure public policy driven market. It only exists to take tons of carbon out of the atmosphere. And that's a difficult market to invest in because you have to absorb both public policy risk and emerging market risk. But if you do, there are good returns to be made from it.
Before we talk about the carbon market, I just wanted to ask you about that. You talked about the difference in investing in sort of green technologies and the fossil fuel economy. What kind of returns are you seeing versus what you might get if you were investing in
we have a
companies?
Clean technology private equity fund. Now it's a decent size, 200 million euros, European focus. It's investing in growth companies. It would expect, and our partners in that fund all come from the mainstream private equity world. Our investors in that fund are used to investing in private equity funds. But what we're looking for is the kinds of returns that you would expect from a successful private equity fund, but perhaps, yet to be proven, with a premium associated with the growth in these particular clean technologies, in solar, in waste to energy, in smart grids, in energy service companies, which are a very effective way of taking value out of the necessity of reducing emissions in the way we consume in our homes, for example.
You mentioned the carbon market. I want to ask you about the UN's carbon trading market, also known as the CDM market. Basically, it's the UN's device for allocating capital to developing economies to take carbon out of the atmosphere. Is that a place to make money?
We have been a pioneer in that market. We built a substantial fund, over $1 billion, to be a significant player in this emerging market. It's a double emerging market. It's a public policy-driven market, as you say, to reduce tons of carbon. It's part of the bargain that was made at Kyoto to get North and South, to rich and poor, to find ways of working together to solve the problem. And it has been largely successful in that. It's probably not built to scale. One of the things that will be negotiated this week is to try and improve its capacity to do scale investment, not least because all those countries, including the US in due course, are going to need access to that market to soften the cost of compliance.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much. That was James Cameron.